Attention, bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, yodelers. We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I'm your host today, Jackie, and we have...
Japheth.
And...
I didn't come. Ezra today. I'm Ezra. There we go.
You're
That's
Ezra.
a name
Peter
I knew.
is Ezra
I'm Ezra
today.
today.
I thought you were going to be Hewing.
I was blanking on his name. Granted, I didn't know we were recording this episode today, so I didn't properly
Someone
prepare.
didn't pay attention.
But you watched it, didn't you?
I did watch it.
That's
Don't
good.
get me wrong, I put in the same preparation in it that I usually do, but I didn't think that we were recording today. That's all.
Yeah.
I'll still contribute plenty.
I went and did above and beyond. I did like the storyboard. I got into this app called Freeform, and I'm just like loving it. It's like a pinboard, and you just like add shapes and pictures. Sorry, I'm nerding out. Ahsoka, focus.
Yes.
Focus.
So we are going to be talking about the new Ahsoka series. We will be getting into spoilers. So you've been warned.
And if you haven't been watching all of the Star Wars content, you're not going to know what's happening anyway. So
It really is for the Star Wars fan who's watched Clone Wars,
And
Rebels.
It really builds it up, and you're going to be like, who's this bad
I feel
guy?
like
Yeah.
you don't really need to know Clone Wars as much as you need to know Rebels.
Rebels is the...
is integral to the storyline. This is the
Clone
sequel
Wars is
to
the
this-
foundation,
Right.
and Rebels is the frame.
Yeah.
And we're trying to, like, finish it off. Like,
Yeah, this is the Ahsoka series, but this is really just Rebels
2.0.
2.0
and for those who don't know who Ahsoka is
in Mandalorian.
he's
No,
in
Ahsoka is not.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka is in the Mandalorian
He is.
show.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said Ahsoka is a Mandalorian.
That's what I
No.
said. Like,
no.
Ahsoka is Anakin Skywalker's apprentice.
Yes.
And you're gonna be like, I don't remember that in the movie. It's not in the movie. It's a character George Lucas created for the Clone Wars show. Since we don't see the Clone Wars in movies, we only see the beginning and we see the end. So the middle of that, or the in between, the Clone Wars, which is in a cartoon form, Ahsoka is introduced there. And then you have Rebels, the TV show, which is another cartoon, computer animated cartoon. That's like the second movie, and Ahsoka live action is like the end trilogy for
But
this
this
character.
this show takes place post Return of the Jedi. So
Yes.
like after Return of the Jedi.
9
this
years
is,
after Return of the Jedi.
So this is
And
after
this is
Mandalorian.
After Mandalorian, the most recent Mandalorian.
So like if you've been watching through Mandalorian, this is around that same time period.
Yes.
yeah. So episode 1, we're introduced to a lot of characters. We're
Team Creamsicle. I call them the Creamsicle team because they have orange lightsabers.
yes. Okay, I noticed that.
They're not red.
The second time around, I was like, wait, that's an orange lightsaber.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting.
Depending on the TV.
They were orange. Like,
They were
Some lesser quality televisions look red because there was a lot of people online going, I don't know why everyone says it's orange. It looks red to me.
got a better TV.
Yeah.
All right, so
They come in, like, you're introduced to them kind of like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And A New
Yeah.
Hope. They come in, there's ship, and they're like, oh, they've got an old code, all right.
yeah,
And they just come out, like, killing people so they could save Elsbeth, right? Morgan Elsbeth, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So what were your thoughts on the evil or the Sith Jedis?
They're not Jedis.
They're not Jedi.
Well-
They're not Sith.
They're not Sith. He's like,
Yes.
he makes it say, I'm no Jedi, right?
Right.
So he's kind of, he's the gray, that's what they call it, the gray,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
like,
just.
people of the Force.
I will be calling them evil Jedis because I don't know what to classify them in.
He's not,
You can lean them more closer to the dark side than you can, because like technically Ahsoka's not a Jedi either.
there's like a
Yeah.
spectrum. Like, Like,
Right.
there's
But,
Jedi and Sith, and then there's this like gray scale.
But I guess
And I
like
think they're more in the darker gray.
Correct.
to the not super fan of Star Wars, to me, I'm like, it's an evil Jedi.
They're bad guys.
It's a good Jedi.
They're bad guys, right? They're killing the Rebel line or
Right.
the Jedi or the New
Well,
Republic fleet.
they're people with their own agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would put it that way. I think at least the main guy, Balin Balin Skull, he has his own agenda. And
He
so
does.
he's aligning himself with people to help him get what he wants.
Means to an end.
right.
Yes. Of course, we get Ahsoka back on the series. I mean, hopefully her name's on the series. What were your impressions on the live action? Well, I guess we've seen her before. But I feel like
It
I
was
don't-
good to see her.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she's on like Indiana Jones, like get the map, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And she encounters the HK assassin droids.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but she got the map that had the Night Sister like in the background.
Yes.
But you don't know that they're like Night Sisters. You're like, oh, it's just ancient people.
Right.
And then when you see them later on in the show, you're
You're
like, oh,
like,
that's Night Sister.
yeah.
Like, yeah, she gets a map ball or something like that. The armillary sky map.
The same map from Treasure Planet.
That's what everyone
Yes.
was clowning on online. They stole that from Treasure Planet. Well, somebody had to steal something from there because no one remembers.
Right.
Ahsoka also has basically a partner, a droid.
Hu Yang.
Hu Yang.
Hu Yang, which is such a fun character. He was in Clone Wars.
He was. Do you know the voice?
No.
It's David Tennant.
David Tennant.
Oh,
the Doctor.
And he actually did the voice in
In the
in
series.
the Clone War cartoon.
Yeah.
And so I've got a fun fact.
Yeah.
So David Tennant reprises his role as Hu Yang in this series. And so before he's an old robot, and you know, Hu Yang has been training younglings for 25,000 years.
Yeah.
Long time, right? And nobody knows sure where exactly he comes from. And the rumor spreads among the younglings that he arrived in a blue box, which is
The TARDIS.
reference to the TARDIS of Doctor Who, which takes form in the 1950s blue box, a police box, where David was the 10th Doctor. And I
That's
was like,
fun.
it's cute how
Yeah.
there's a crossover.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a
The-
I'm not a
the-
huge Doctor
it's-
Who, but I appreciate
It's for
fun.
the nerds.
It's a subtle wink.
yeah.
Yes, it's not a ghost wink.
It's not a ghost wink.
sci-fi wink.
Yeah.
Wink.
I think he's a fun character.
He's hilarious.
He's got some sass with him.
He's the comic relief. He
Yeah.
he brings
Yes.
to light so much of because there's kind
nobody
of-
else funny in there.
Yeah,
except for
no.
Chopper.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chopper's probably the only other
War crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a random statement. It's like, what war crimes? It's like, Chopper, you sassy old droid, you.
Yeah. And then you get introduced to Hera.
Harrison Dula.
Yeah.
You should name a child after that.
Yeah.
I have named it. For those who are like, oh, what did you name your child? They're all like uppity. I'd be like, oh, a Greek goddess, you know, Hercules' mom, and or you know, Zeus's wife. But then I have to know they're Star Wars fans. Like, well, I name my daughter Hera, and they'll be like, whoa, that is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
you see that a lot with people.
What were your thoughts on her as an actor? There was a lot of controversy. People didn't like her as Hera.
You want to know why she is there?
Ewan
Fun fact.
McGregor.
She is Ewan McGregor's wife.
Yeah.
I thought she was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think her character didn't have a chance to do anything to show how cool she is.
No.
Right.
She's like stuck, gets to clean up everything with the paperwork. Don't worry, guys. You go have fun. I'll take care of the paperwork.
Yeah, that's kind of how
Gotta
it felt for
babysit.
her. It was just like Hera was fighting the politicians.
Yeah.
Well, that was in a way kind of her role, even in Rebels, was that like she was that in between person between the people doing the fun stuff and then the people she's getting orders from. So she's that in between person.
She always get like in the Rebel show. She was always getting them out of the pickle,
Right.
like
Correct. She was.
out of a tough pickle
And
right there. right?
unfortunately, she was backseated in this series.
She did, and it's really hard to incorporate because, like she said, she's got her obligations to the New Republic. She's a general, and she's got a son, Jason.
Yep.
You know, we're exposed to him at the end of Rebels, where it's like
Very last episode.
very last
when you get a
episode.
flash forward.
And so they incorporate, you know, her son with Kanan, who was the Jedi that was joined with part of the crew that trained Ezra Bridger. You know, so they make a reference to him when they're building the lightsaber in a further episode. Yeah, they could have definitely done more with her. I thought that she was the weakest character, incorporated and developed.
I think she's gonna play a bigger role in the next thing that she shows up in.
I think in Rogue,
whatever
Rogue series, I think she'll pop in.
Because I don't know what it is. What's next?
Yeah.
Because I know like they are working on Mandalorian 4, but I don't really know anything else in terms of that timeline. Is it Skeleton Crew? Is that the next one?
There's Skeleton Crew and there's another one.
Well, I know there's one.
Republic, or?
I know there's one for the Old Republic. That's the Acolyte.
Oh.
That's
the
the Acolyte. That one's for the High Republic.
High Republic. Yeah, because that's the one that they've created books and a world already, and they're kind of trying to bring that into Kathleen Kennedy's project.
So I think the only thing I can think of is Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew, they're doing Rogue, like what is it called? Is it Rogue One? Or
Andor.
Andor. Yes, they're filming that one.
That's what they're working on.
And I think they'll incorporate Hera there,
probably
because she's that early infancy,
early rebellion.
Rebellion. Yes. And you see a lot of that in the Rebels TV show.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch that, the first season's probably the hardest because they're getting their character meshing together, and then you get the good villain of Thrawn introduced later on, and also Darth Maul comes into that.
Right.
Yeah. We are also introduced to Sabine. She is Mandalorian.
Right? Yeah.
Mandalorian. Yep.
Just hanging out in Ezra's old place.
Yeah, she was basically Ahsoka's apprentice. Is that...
Yeah,
they
kind of implied that.
They implied that was nothing. That was nothing that was known before.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay, cool, because she had practiced with the lightsaber because she can handle the dark saber.
She held the dark saber.
Yeah,
and we saw that it's not easy with
on Mandalorian.
With Mando, he had a hard time wielding it, but she could, so she had some ability. But Hugh Yang
she had some sort of she's force sensitive to a certain degree.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind
of
not
highly, according to Hugh Yang. He really liked to knock her.
Yeah, that was kind of her general backstory. Her character development was very much her developing her force abilities.
Yeah, so I feel like the first episode was just introduce you a bunch of characters and a little bit of their stories,
basically stating, okay guys, we're gonna go bring back Ezra and Thrawn. That was basically the theme of the first episode.
Yeah, it was just setting the goal,
set the expectation. This is what we're gonna be doing this season.
They did. They brought up the map, and then was it Balin and Shinati? I think that is his apprentice. She goes and attacks. She attacks Sabine, who was trying to hack the map because they couldn't unbreak it. And she gets stabbed with a lightsaber. I was like, did you just like Chewbacca me or something? Like,
what is your thought? Because that's like a reoccurring thing of people getting stabbed with lightsabers and
surviving.
And Qui-Gon's going, what the heck?
What about Han Solo?
He doesn't live. But
to be fair, Han Solo fell into an exploding planet.
Yes.
Yeah, it did blow up.
They really wanted to make
but
sure.
But Qui-Gon did get gypped, and they joke about that on that one YouTube channel.
Right.
Where he's like, well, the technology just came out after you died.
The Bacta was a new thing right after you died.
But he's all like, but Darth Maul lived? He got cut in half. I just got stabbed. No, you just died. You're dead.
You just had all your vital organs were just in that one spot where you got stabbed.
Yeah, I just think
hers were someplace else.
I don't know. I just feel like the Jedi powers have like developed to be a little bit overpowering in the technology of like lightsabers.
Well, I think they kind of nerfing lightsabers' ability.
Yeah.
Like the effectiveness of a lightsaber. Like it's not as simple as I stabbed you anymore like it
win.
used to be.
Poor Qui-Gon. He really got gypped in the whole Star Wars story of getting stabbed once.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yup, you're dead.
Okay. Episode 2, we get into some new stuff. Highlight, Ahsoka is like using the Force to trace back steps of like history, and I don't know. I just think I don't remember her doing that, but I haven't finished watching Clone Wars.
No, it's something new I really haven't seen her do.
Right.
Yeah, like I remember, Sabine's in the hospital, and then
Yeah.
Ahsoka's like, I need to figure out,
What happened?
we lost the ball. We need to go find
Yeah.
them. And so she goes to investigate the scene. They find the droid, the assassin droid. She knew there was like, okay, there's 2 of them there. And she knew that there was probably going to be another one still hiding to kill her.
Right.
And so they get the head, and then they like get the information from the exploding head.
You also get more in this episode. You've seen the more struggle relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine.
Yeah, because Ahsoka just ditched
Kind
her.
of ditched her.
He's like, whoa, you're all mad about Mandalore, and that's not good for someone. I saw that with Anakin.
yeah,
Right, like she and
I don't want you abusing this power.
I don't think it was laid out until future
Later.
episodes that was the reasoning.
But she basically implied, like, she left me.
right,
She ran. She pulled a Luke.
she
I see anger.
left.
I gotta stab you with my lightsaber.
Right. She
Ryan
left.
Johnson, you killed that.
she left Sabine so that because she isn't as developed into the Force, she is less likely to fall into the same state as her former master.
yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, that's a lot of grief to go through.
Your whole planet, your
whole planet gets destroyed
Get nuked.
with weapons that you designed.
Oh, really?
She
designed the
designed
nukes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
Because that was her thing. She's a weapons builder. Like, she likes building weapons and things like that.
I'll just build a nuke.
And like, she literally designed the weapons that was used to destroy her whole
Oh,
planet.
that's sad.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that Ahsoka was there on that battle too was kind of hard to
Yeah.
realize that.
I thought that was the planet was bombed at the end of the Empire's occupation. Like when the war
Yeah.
was like, it wasn't the like right after the battle with Ahsoka, but it was at the end of the Empire. They bombed
Oh, yeah. It was at the end of the Empire.
Oh.
That's where I kind of learned. I learned that kind of from this,
Right.
Because I thought it was implied that it happened like
Right
during the
before-
occupation.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. It was more like, oh, we're leaving. Let me just burn everything while
Right.
I'm leaving. Yeah, I remember because they get the droid information, and then they go to Corellia, to
Corellia.
the shipbuilding
Yeah.
place where they're breaking it down.
Where Han Solo's from.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
It's a book thing.
Yeah.
It's also in Solo.
It is in Solo, and that's where he learned that's where he's like, this ship right here is the ship, where there's the ships are being dismantled, the old Star Destroyers, and
They're being decommissioned.
being decommissioned,
But there's spies and
yes, there's
Or-
elements of the Empire still
Yes.
there, and they're like,
Well, yeah.
course.
And then they talk about that. It says, yeah, like when we become one republic again, of course there's still going to be Empire
Remnants.
throughout the government because there's a lot of middle management that needs to be filled. It's impossible to completely clean
they
slate.
were a small band of rebels,
Yes.
Right.
And they're not gonna be like, oh, we're gonna take over the whole empire. It was like a bureaucratic system for a
Right.
galaxy, so
and
it makes
it's like
sense.
the Empire's system's been in for a while, so just to
Depends on what you mean for a while. Some
Okay.
It's
people
a
are like
20-year reign,
20 years for a galactic empire.
but it was impactful. Those
Right, it
20
was.
years,
It was.
and the thumb that was pressed upon the members of that galaxy. and then they're taking those hyperdrives out of there, and they're building
for the super star destroyers.
Yes.
That's what those hyper.
Yeah.
Because they said I figured it out when they used the letters. They said SSD. Oh, they're for the SSDs.
Oh, okay.
And I go,
Destroyer.
super star destroyers.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good catch. Yeah, and that's where like Hera and Ahsoka find out. They're like, "Oh, where are those guys going?"
Yeah.
And then, like Hera's like, let me see the manifesto."
It's
I was like,
classified. It's like I'm the general of the freaking
Yeah.
army. Nothing's classified
yeah,
to me.
show me. And like, well, we'll have to. And they're like, long live the Empire. You always got
It's
that
like-
one guy that's just like, oh, they're gonna find us. Oh, yeah,
Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, exactly. It was a Leroy Jenkins moment, and like totally got their butt handed to him. Thanks a lot, Leroy.
You shoot them first and then say for the Empire.
And then he's like walking out, and he's all like, "At least I got chicken." So yeah, Ahsoka tries to run down the ship, and Hera goes up with her ship to put a tracker on there, but Ahsoka is confronted by what's his name, Merrick, the knight.
Yeah. He's a mystery
He's
person.
he's an Inquisitor knight where you don't see his face. I am here to sell action figures
Yeah.
and have no story attached. It was one of those like, oh,
Because he dies the next episode.
He does.
But there's a scene.
Spoilers. No,
Oh,
we haven't gotten there yet.
but there is a scene. Balin. That's the beard guy.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, Balin.
His apprentice was all like, "Oh, what does it mean if like Thrawn comes? Like, what does that mean for us?" And he was like, "Oh, with us and Thrawn equals power."
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting because I think it was a different type of power he was referencing, not like the power to like rule a galaxy. That was never his like intention. He always had
He has an ulterior motive, and I think it's one of those things, and we'll probably talk about this later when we get to
The last episode, the last scene references the power that he is seeking.
right.
And change.
Well, and the difference between what she thought he was talking about, because she was thinking something else, and that's why he sends her away. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you end the episode where you see the Eye of Sign, which is the big
hula hoop.
The hula
Yeah.
hoop. You see these in like the Clone Wars. That's how like small ships could do hyperspeed.
You see the Jedi starfighters have those.
Well, and there's a scene where like Morgan's all like, "Take care of Ahsoka," and he's like, "Oh, it's sad to see a Jedi go. So many have been killed."
Yeah, he's not into
it's
like
interesting.
revenge.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like,
He's
I'm
not
here
into
for
pointless
me.
killing.
Yeah.
I look at him and he's like a person with fallen faith.
Yeah.
Because he looks at it and he goes like, "Oh, well, I was fond. I was in it, and they went away, and that's just what happens. It's just part of the cyclical cycle of the Jedi and the Sith and this power game. And I think we're gonna get that bigger picture of like the Force, like we've seen with Dave Filoni and like the Moric. I think there's the Mortis planet. We've mentioned this before.
Also, it was interesting in episode 2, the end scene in Rebels matched up with the scene in episode 2 of Ahsoka.
Right.
Of Ahsoka appearing to Sabine and picking her up like
Yes.
at the mural. And that was fun that they kind of combined those scenes together.
Maybe that is the point that they're trying to refer to.
Yep.
Like, let's go find Ezra.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a big old scene with her, like, cutting her hair, going back to the old Sabine, putting on her Mandalorian armor. It's kind of like that samurai kind of, like, let's get back to business kind of, like, war.
Yeah. Episode 3, Sabine is training to be a Jedi, but kind of like
It's the weakest
old
episode.
Way. It is.
It's a lot of transitioning and
It's definitely
the exposition.
setup,
Like, we've got to do something while we're traveling, so this is what we're doing.
Yeah, and you get see Ahsoka struggling training Sabine.
You saw that?
Yes.
I didn't feel that.
I
saw
that.
Sabine struggle. I think
Well-
Ahsoka knows it's hard and it takes time.
I think there was struggle on both sides of like,
And you're probably right.
you know, 'cause
Because I think that's alluded to later
the
on.
fifth episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Ahsoka's struggle is developing the master and apprentice relationship. I don't think it's the actual teaching part, but it's actual like trust in me
Right.
and the process and everything.
Trust in me. Shut your
Do you think
So sleepy now.
Sabine is actually supposed to be a Jedi?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think she has any Jedi.
What is it? Her
metachlorian count's really low.
Did you not watch? She has the Force.
Yeah, she
uses
does.
it.
She does, but I just don't think she's really meant to.
She never would have been picked up by the Jedi.
No.
With her level.
No.
Correct. But she is Force sensitive. She's equivalent to the Broom Kid.
I think so.
Yes.
She's the broom kid.
She's the Broom Kid from The Last Jedi.
and the little kid that's like, Master Anakin. I'm so scared. You are now, kid.
What are we going to do?
Die.
I saw a poster for like Disney Plus series called The Younglings, and it's his like Anakin with the Younglings.
We brought Christian again. He's back to reprise his role.
I think another strong point of this episode 3 was it's the first time we see space whales in the Ahsoka series.
We see space whales are introduced.
There was a funny Star Trek meme that I saw with that.
All right, whales are our thing.
Well, it was the thing from that Star Trek movie, the
Star
Journey
Trek
Home,
4.
whatever. I think it's the Journey Home, where they're sitting on the bus and they're like. They show the picture of the space whales and they go, they fly now? They fly now. I go, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, the episode had like Hera talking to Mon Mothma, like where you meet
the
that
politics struggle.
Yeah, and you read that in like a book called Bloodline, where Princess Leia like
dealing with the same thing.
She deals with the same thing of like there's those who are true, and then you have those who are like Empire, like. They lean more towards the Empire, but yet they're in the New Republic because you want power still. And I think that's what you're seeing here is just the layout of like, yeah, they beat the bad guys. Everything's good. No, democracy and Republic is tough.
Yeah.
It's partisan, and you're seeing like him spin things, and you're just like, oh, you just stink. I hate you. You're just bad. But I mean, his points were valid, but then his points were kind of blinded by.
You can tell where he was aligned.
Of course. And that's where you're like, oh, I hate this.
And I think they have to show these like weak chains of like in the Republic because like
very
they
evident.
won but yet they lose the power in the newer series, and so they have to showcase like there's weak links and problems.
They show that with the last season of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Where there is the Republic isn't as strong as they're making things out to be. That it's still very fragile and barely holding on.
And eventually they dismantle their fleet because they're like, oh, we don't want another person coming in and inheriting this huge fleet here, so we'll just destroy it all, and we'll be kind of like a militia base kind of galaxy.
Yeah. Let's move on to episode 4.
You didn't want to talk about Ahsoka with her lightsabers? Like, she's defending the ship. Like, she goes out onto her ship. And she's got her spacesuit, and she's like, I'll take care of this. I was like, man, Ahsoka's so cool by doing this. Like,
oh, yeah, I forgot about her getting on top of
their ship gets, like, blown up because, like, Hugh Yang's like, I've almost scanned it. And they're like, oh, we gotta go. And they get blown up a little bit, and, like, I love Ahsoka's like, I'll just go out there and fight them with my lightsabers. And you know, that kind of like forces them to land on the planet.
Yeah. Any other points you want to bring up?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I just thought it was a cool scene.
It was
a cool
scene.
It's lots of cool lightsaber scenes.
It was one of those like they get your attention and then they give you nothing until the last 2 minutes of the
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
It was the
Yeah.
weakest episode
It definitely
of it.
was.
Of the, you get 2 episodes and then you get that one. You're like, I really hope the next one's good.
Right.
The 4th one's really good still. Like,
Yes. 4th episode, they're fixing the ship, but you see a conflict between Sabine and Ahsoka, because Ahsoka's like, we need to destroy this so Thrawn doesn't come back, and she's like, but Sabine's like, we want Ezra, like,
they're setting it up
yeah,
for the dilemma's choice. So like, do I, get my brother or do I
right.
save the galaxy?
Mm-hmm. And obviously Sabine is very committed to finding Ezra.
Yep.
I like the one comment by Yang is like, to Ahsoka and Sabine, it's like, you guys do better when you stick together. But what do? They
split up.
They split up.
They should have well, first let's just kill this other person who's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, now let's go fight. 2 is better than 1 instead of but they felt like there was this sensitivity in time, but they really didn't know what the threat was.
Right.
Well,
So if somebody's there fighting you, it's obviously there to keep you there for something.
and usually, I mean, Yang or whatever his name is, Yang.
Hu Yang.
Yeah. He's very experienced with Jedis. He's trained, and
He's been around longer than Master Yoda.
right. And so, like,
Much longer.
you
Much longer.
see, if there are Jedis, they're usually in pairs or a grouping.
That's very true. Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
You got the master and apprentice working together. Very
Yeah.
rarely like, here, hold on to this.
right. Of course, you get to know Hero-san a little bit more.
You get Jason.
You get to know,
you-
Jason. He's
Yep.
a little more force sensitive.
Yeah, he gets his own little thing when they're looking for Ahsoka the next
Yes.
episode. But you get the really cool lightsaber fight between Balin and Ahsoka
That was
in
a good
episode
fight.
4.
Good
That was
fight.
good. Yeah, because they killed off Merrick, and you had
Yeah.
the ghost come out, and you're like, oh, that's the Night Sister
Yes.
kind of spirit that we saw there. Another hint
Right.
for those who know.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely clear that he's definitely a better swordsman than Ahsoka is, and Ahsoka's really good.
She went toe to
Yeah.
toe with Vader.
Right.
But
And-
Vader is not as strong as Anakin.
Correct.
Right.
And people are like, what? How is he not as strong? Like, yeah, he's
He's
powerful,
got a bunch of stuff
but
on.
the Force flows through
Living.
the living. Metal is not,
He's more machine now than man.
quote from Obi-Wan. Yeah, so he's not as strong, and that was one of those things that, the Emperor was really disappointed and was kind of like, I want another apprentice. I want your son,
Yeah.
who's more powerful than
Yeah.
you. That's why he wanted to bring him on and have the two fight and be like, I get all the spoils.
Right.
Yeah, that was an awesome fight.
yes.
Ahsoka
and
dies.
Ahsoka
Ahsoka dies.
so-called dies.
I love- yeah.
The end, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was
I
like
put it in my notes. Ahsoka dead?
dead? No, falls off a cliff. You shall not pass. Right moment, fights the whatever lava monster. Yeah, she touches the orb and she's injured and then she can't fight as much. But yeah, you bring up Balin is a stronger swordsman, and he has that moment where they're fighting, and then he uses a little dark push where he's whoosh and
Right.
throws her off her.
Well, there's a
balance.
moment where Ahsoka sees the apprentice of Balin.
Shin Hati.
Yes. And
Oh
was
boy, he knocks her. It's get out of here, kid.
Yeah.
well,
Let the grown-ups play here.
Well, and she sees her and was like, "Where's Sabine?" And she's like, that's when
she's
she
drawing
uses the
conclusion.
anger
She's got a little rage there.
and she threw her off to the side. And
Balin didn't like that. He's like, no, don't mess with that.
it just
Don't
showed
punch down.
Ahsoka is not a Jedi. She will use Sith
I
or
know
the dark
Jedi.
side.
Yeah. She's a gray.
Yeah.
She's on the lighter end.
Yes.
She uses it for good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good moment. The fighting, and then Sabine shows up out of nowhere
Right.
and then holds the pistol against the ball and
And then
let her go.
Balin is smart because he's not all just oh, let's just fight. But he
didn't need to dominate her in that
he's
moment.
logic, and he's like, we can work together.
It's like, I can give you what you want. You can help me get what I want.
Because it's like no one's going to. We both lose if you shoot this down, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You want this. I want this. Let's work together. I promise you, you'll get a chance to see Ezra.
Yep.
We get a glimpse of Ahsoka in the in-between.
The world between.
World between worlds.
And I think there's like, at that, they left it off at a cliffhanger. They're like, you saw them, you're like, oh, and you get Anakin.
We saw you in Obi-Wan, but this is like the real ghost Anakin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good to see them right there. It's like
I was not expecting Anakin to be in the show.
I had heard that he was going to be in the
Yeah.
show.
I didn't do much research.
It was one of those
so.
things that just popped up, and you're like, oh, that's cool. It'd be nice. Like, there's no closure there, and it starts off with like, oh, you're here for your last
lesson.
your last lesson right here, and then it's like, live or die. You're like,
Yeah.
jeez. But it was important. What did you get? Like, then you get off and you get like young Ahsoka.
That was
and young
great.
Anakin.
I want to see that.
Okay, yeah, Java, why don't you start with talking about episode 5?
Okay, so episode 5 starts off with like live or die, and they have a lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka kind of gets like a good kick to the face to him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, you think you're all hot stuff, huh? You're on my land now. And it like totally swipes the land, like the ground underneath her.
Yeah.
And then she falls, and then you get young Ahsoka. Did you guys like young Ahsoka?
Yes. Loved young Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah, she's the same actor who does young Gamora in Marvel.
Yeah.
Wow. I just got interesting fact from Jackie right there. That was good. Where were you on that IMDb? Yeah, you get young Ahsoka and Anakin in like the early Clone Wars. Ahsoka's dealing with the deaths and the battle from mistakes that she's making, kind of pointing out like, we're not really generals. They just gave us this, and we're leading these people, and it really isn't efficient. And that's kind of what like Grand Moff Tarkin was all like, you Jedi should not be doing this. You should have real experts leading these troops.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you guys are great, but you're making a bunch of mistakes. You're not really equipped for it. But Anakin wants to teach her how to lead and survive this young Ahsoka. And, if she chooses not to fight, then she'll die. And Anakin goes off into the battle. And you see the lightsaber. He goes out there, a lightsaber blazing. And you see this fog, like, going. And then you see, like, Darth Vader's, like, shadow comes in with the red lightsaber.
It's the breathing, too.
Yeah.
That's what triggered it. When I
so
heard the
good.
breathing, I was like, oh, my gosh.
Then live
Darth
or
Vader.
die. And that's the struggle with Ahsoka's, like, the legacy of Darth Vader and Anakin. She has that, like, is this because of me? Is this always him? Should he had ever been there? And the truth is, he is the chosen one. It is established in the Clone War cartoon. He is the chosen one to bring balance, which everyone's stupid to think, oh, we're all powerful. Now we'll really bring balance, right?
Right.
And then what else do we got?
It's true.
And so they just shift from that battle, and they end up in the end of Battle of Mandalore.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't recognize this.
I was like, yeah, you're like killing younglings at this point. You got Commander Rex. He makes an appearance in the battle.
Yes, that was
and I was
great.
like, oh, God. I just like Rex. I don't know what it is.
He was a great character.
He is, and it was just good to see him there in that moment. Ahsoka struggles with the legacy of Anakin training that brought death and destruction,
Yeah, she was like sad to see stormtroopers dying for this cause, and she's like, but he's like, I had to train you to be a soldier.
It's and that's where she struggles. She goes, the association of Anakin for like power and destruction for this legacy, and he goes like, this is your, like, you come from a great legacy. And just like the legacy of like war and death, and like that's she really has struggled with that internally. And that, I think that's why she really hid after everything happened with the Empire, and like she had to really come to her own, like, who am I? What am I doing? I'm not a Jedi, but I'm not really doing it. I don't want to use my powers for evil. And then she kind of like starts helping people, and she goes, "Oh, this is where I need to be."
I think it's interesting when he's like, "Oh, I trained to be a soldier." And it's like that's where the fall of the Jedi started. Was like using Jedis as soldiers, then bringing balance.
You know,
say, like,
that is a dilemma with it, because Luke brings that about in the Last Jedi.
Yeah, he does.
You know, it's all like Jedis are thinking they know what's right, and they jump into something, and sometimes it's just it's just going with the flow. And that was kind of Qui-Gon's thing.
Right.
And that's where everyone's like, oh, Qui-Gon's the original gray Jedi. But he's like, well, he was still in the system, so was he? And so that's where you get this gray Jedi with Ahsoka. But, you know, they return, you know, Anakin starts to attack the young Ahsoka with the red lightsaber.
Right.
And then they return back to the world between worlds, and they start fighting with like Anakin with the rage in his eyes with that red. I was like, yes, because you don't see Anakin with a red lightsaber. That's a Darth Vader thing.
Did you catch the line where, you know, Ahsoka goes, "I will not fight you," and then he goes, "I've heard that line before."
Yes. Yeah. That was a fun one.
So do you know what that is?
It's Obi-Wan.
No, it's Luke.
No, I thought Obi-Wan goes like, oh, it is Luke.
It's Luke. He goes,
Oh.
"I will not fight you."
That's true. Yeah.
Oh.
So he's referencing
I was thinking
Luke
Obi-Wan
Skywalker
and A New Hope.
in that
Yeah.
moment.
I
that-
thought it
and-
was the scene when Ahsoka was fighting Darth Vader in that one.
And apparently that line, that was a Hayden Christian, like, he said,
He improved it.
he improved that. Like, he said, "What if he said this?" And Dave Filoni's like, "Yeah, I like that."
It's gonna be crazy where you got this whole story and then people are giving you ideas and you're like, oh, how does this work in a big
Yeah.
scheme? I did like how like Anakin has that one dilemma song. It's like live or die.
die.
And then she's like, no, and he goes, incorrect. You're just like,
Yes.
oh, that's where you get the red
Oh,
lightsaber
yeah.
scene, and you're like, oh goodness gracious. And then we return to the world between worlds, and Anakin's still fighting with that, and you know they fight, and she does a move where she disarms him.
Right.
And then she goes, I choose to live. And then, like, you know, it's over.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, in that moment, she, you know, comes back
Right.
to the water. It
And
was
people
a really.
say it was important for her to do this and to get closure from Anakin, so she becomes the teacher.
Yes. Ahsoka the White
Yes.
from, you know, Gandalf. Like, that was the moment. Like, after that, she's wearing a white jacket.
Like,
Oh,
she
yeah.
is grown, she is let go of the past, and she's learned.
Oh yeah, the internet was very quick to be like, "Oh, we're pulling a Gandalf."
It was great. I have no problem. Hey,
No.
it's fine to pull from things. Like, come on, when we're in the next episode, when you see Thrawn, you see this giant tower, and they come to storm it, you're like, oh, that's Lord of the Rings if I've ever
and
seen
that was
one.
a conflict at the last scene of Rebels. Ahsoka was wearing white, but when they remade that scene live action, she was wearing gray.
Oh, okay.
But I think
I
it
think
was
their
a good
TVs were
call.
off too. Got on no TV, yo.
I think that was a good edit, though, to fit this growth of Ahsoka.
Yeah. You know,
This episode was an episode that apparently in like 5 cities across the nation they actually showed this in the movie theater.
I mean, I would have watched
I
it.
would have totally been to the theater to see this episode.
yeah, we were discussing in the car right here. This series, if you just chop out all the endings, like all the like credits, and you combine them all, you got a great movie. You sell it for a couple like weeks in theaters to watch the whole thing. Yeah, it's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
I want to see the lightsaber scenes on a big screen.
Right.
Yeah, I got a big TV at home, but it's
But
nothing like the
I want
theater.
the sounds.
I want to feel the light. I want to hear Darth Vader's lightsaber in the theater.
Yeah.
Or like the TIE fighters, like the...
Oh, the screech.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, in the movie, or in the for episode 5, it ends with Ahsoka pulling a Tom Hanks going inside the space whale. No. She talks to the whales, and they're like, yo, I'll just eat you,
take you.
and we'll go hyperspace. Hey, you be in my belly.
Well, I love
it
the
was-
fact that like Ahsoka was like, she gets in and he's all like, so are we going to the place? And he goes, I don't know.
Yeah, we're just gonna wing it.
We're just going with the flow of things. We're just going. It's like,
I still have water in my ears. All right, can we just like? It was weird to see her because she didn't have a band on her head.
I know, everyone's
I was like,
freaking-
she's naked. She
Yeah.
doesn't have her headband
Everyone
on.
online was like freaking out. It's like, if you think you've seen horror, this is horror right here. Like, seeing this.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, I was like, I don't know what to think. I'm mixed feelings here. I'm like, Hera, look away. Don't look.
She doesn't have her
She
headband
doesn't
on.
have her headband on. She's naked. All right. I think we're on episode 6 now.
Yeah.
This one was like, oh, this one gave me chills.
Yeah, we get.
Well, can we start with the very beginning, which has spurred so much?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So many theories.
The
Huyang-
Ahsoka and
Huyang?
Huyang, yeah.
Oh yeah. So like Hu Ying's like, yeah, like you want me to tell you stories? She's like, no. And then she eventually says, yeah, go ahead and tell me a story.
But I like how she goes, oh, the first one's always the best one.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he goes, you pick. And so he starts things off a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, which has now spurred all this fan theory that he is the storyteller of the entire Star Wars series.
Oh my gosh, I never realized that.
Because he's been around longer than
Yeah.
Yoda. So, like, he knows
He set the
everything.
tone.
So, like, all
He's the
Star
scroll.
Wars, he's the scroll. He knows everything. So, like, when we watch Star Wars, we're watching Hu Yang tell a story.
We're actually in
that's
Hu
cool.
Yang's mind. It's a
a story.
It's a simulation theory in his brain.
Right.
That's cool.
And then
Jackie's like, and no, we're not going down this rabbit
and
hole.
then Luke Skywalker made out with his sister.
Ahsoka's like, what? That wasn't, no.
Wait, this happened? Yes, it happened.
And we're gonna watch like a remake, and you just see Hu Yang behind every scene. It's gonna be like Where's Waldo with David Tennant going, "That's gross." Yes, you got that. It was a good opening. Yeah. What is it? Then you have Sabine in the prison cell.
Yeah.
They arrive into
They're in the new
Pradea,
galaxy.
the
Yeah.
new galaxy where all the space whale bones are.
They're greeted by the three sisters.
Yes.
The Balin and Morgan, that group is greeted by the three sisters.
Do you so the
I knew one of them.
Do you recognize the first one?
The main one.
Do you
Yes.
recognize
Oh, you do?
her?
She's from Farscape
She
and
was
Stargate.
Farscape.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the muscle like tough lady on there. Yeah, I didn't realize it until I was like, she looks familiar. Oh, she was in that show. So another little sci-fi wink. Yeah, we introduced to them, greeting Elsbeth and Shinati. They're like, oh, I smell Jedi.
Right.
I was like, Jedi got a smell. I was like, really?
They do.
Really? Sabine's the one that smells like Jedi, not Balin, who was like raised in it.
Well, and Balin mentions that he's looking for greater power. So another reference to having more power.
He's like, I'm not here for this game.
I'm not here for Thrawn or
No.
Morgan. I'm here for something much bigger.
It was.
He said he's like, I'm done with the circles.
Yeah, the cycle, the
the
up and
cycle,
down.
Yes.
And then we get the classic Thrawn enters in. Was there
Yeah.
a more epic entrance?
That was a great entrance for Thrawn.
Oh, I was just like, there it is. There's the Chimera, the ship. It's all beat up looking. It's got like gold in there.
Yeah, they used like gold from, I'm assuming,
I
from
threw
the
it
planet.
from the
Probably
planet.
currency or
to help refit the ship so that it can survive space travel eventually.
Yeah. And then you see like all the troops, and they're like, these are weird looking troops.
they got like red on
They
them.
got the red wrap in there, and they've got that like Japanese style where they have the cup where like you break a cup and they'll like fix it with like gold.
Right.
And, they have that style in them, so it shows you like these are broken. And then you read they're called night troopers in like the credits and stuff like that. You get introduced to who? Captain Enoch. I was like, yeah!
Right.
He's so cool looking. It's like, oh, that's an awesome action figure.
Here's an awesome looking dude that doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do.
He's like,
just,
die well. He's just the like right hand man too.
He was basically another like Captain Phasma.
We don't know yet. Could be way better than Captain Phasma.
It could be.
I got high hopes for her. He's a cool looking character. People are saying it's an homage to George Lucas's first movie, the THX 1138, and they have the police that have that kind of face. So that's kind of an homage to that. But it has that Roman feel to it. He walks in, kind of gladiator, right?
How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
All the time. Every day.
The Empire from Star Wars, or
It's just a guy thing.
It's a guy
I
thing.
know.
But yeah, Thrawn walks in. He like they love him. They trust
Did
him.
you like that they picked the original actor from Thrawn? Or
Oh,
the
absolutely.
voice
He
actor
nailed
from-
it. He nailed it. He was perfect.
His chubby face kind of threw me off a little.
He's older.
Yeah.
Right.
You just accept the fact that he's older now.
I mean, he worked, and in the second book he was in, he worked with Anakin in the Clone Wars. So it shows you there's been time.
Yeah.
And you could see it in his uniform. Like, it's got that natural worn, like, taking it on and off where the buttons are.
Right.
There's a little fraying, but yet he still presents himself, like, in that
Yes.
same commanding uniform. He's got the height, which, like, commands, like, leadership. And, like, when he stands over Sabine, he, like, looks down.
right.
He has that aura of leadership, and, like, yeah, loved the character.
Good. I was
You
curious.
are-
Did you like him?
I mean, obviously it's the same voice actor, same acting skills, which is great. Like, we all love that. It was the chubbiness threw me off because I was like, oh, it doesn't look like the Thrawn. Like, there doesn't, like, have, like, the triangle highlighting on the sides and stuff.
Yeah, they gave him the impression on the forehead.
Right.
But yeah, he doesn't have the shadowing. The cheeks aren't prominent.
Right.
And yeah, I guess that had that problem where you're like, we have this guy, and how much do we change his face without turning into a real housewife of Beverly Hills?
But, I
Right?
mean, you get used to it.
It doesn't bother me. I loved it. I loved, like, the music. It's ominous.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's just, oh, so good. And so, yeah, we get Thrawn. Finally.
Thrawn's back.
Thrawn's
Yeah.
back.
Everything you've been hoping for.
It was just good to see him.
It was.
It was familiar. It's like, it's like walking in Disneyland for the first. You're like, I'm comfortable.
Yes.
I'm home. And seeing Thrawn in Star Wars, I was home.
Yeah.
It's his first time being live action
Chewie.
for the last 30 years.
We're home.
Yes, like that.
Yeah.
Was it Thrawn grants Sabine the deal?
Yeah, basically, go
It's
find
like, you help
Ezra.
me, I'll help you. Doesn't affect my plan.
Nope.
Go hang out with your buddy.
He's like, I
Go
don't want
away.
you. I don't want you back on this ship. Like,
Just let you know, once I leave, I'm gone.
I'm out.
You're stuck. Team Creamsicle, they're gonna come fight and kill
Right.
him. She's ambushed by a local samurai.
Yeah. They meet turtles.
Yeah, they meet I love the Noti.
They're cute.
They're little cute guys. They're
They
the
are.
little Jawas of this planet.
And
And then we meet Ezra.
yeah. It was interesting to see like who they chose for Ezra.
He was good.
I thought he did a good job. I
Yeah.
think he embodied the personality that we know of Ezra.
Everybody wanted Keanu Reeves, but everyone loves Keanu Reeves right now.
There
so-
were so many rumors that Ezra was dark.
Well, yeah. I mean, I threw it out there that
Yeah.
Ezra could be dark. So
There was one thing that like they revealed Ezra and he's wearing kind of like this like chainmail and they're like, "Oh, that's stormtrooper dog tags."
Ooh, that's dark.
And I was
Yeah.
like, "Dang." I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah, it was just good to see him. It was very nonchalant. Like, hey, you come back. He came back for me,
Right.
right?
I mean, they picked up just like they were like saw each other yesterday.
He's like, I
kind
knew
of
you'd
thing.
come by. I
Yeah.
knew you'd come and get me.
It was like, it was like, one of the theme songs for like Star Wars. Like when you hear Leia's, like Leia comes in, you hear her like themes like
The happiness.
"Oh, I'm
Like
happy."
there was no anger of Ezra or
yeah.
which was interesting that he wasn't angry.
Yeah, we kind of get a feel of like what, the Thrawn's using dead troopers, dead people, and he's using the Night Sisters and that dark
he
side. That's something
basically
you get from Clone Wars.
Ezra explains, they got here and he, found the Night Sisters and rebuilt.
I'm curious as to what arrangement he made with the Night Sisters.
I think that's gonna be coming.
They like what you see at the end of the last episode is they go to Dathomir.
Right.
So it's one of those
Is it like we'll take you to Dathomir?
we'll take you home and you do your thing. I think that's where it was transactional. Or they're going there to bring back those people to life. They have to go.
So we're gonna have an army of Night Sisters.
Army of zombie stormtroopers. I think that's what's in there. Or maybe they are all Night Sisters in those boxes. We don't know for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
because they were transporting a lot of cargo.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thing. Is like they had that battle in the next episode, and he's like, "Hey, they may have won this battle, but I need
a
time.
distraction.
I need time, and that's how I win. They lost it. I needed it.
Yep.
So yeah, you're seeing that darker side with the Night Sisters and that deal. And Thrawn's always been like, he's always to incorporate local people and bring them in and making deals. Like he doesn't really make enemies with people that he's not trying to battle.
Yeah.
And so I think he's a survivor, and I think he saw.
But I think
people to help.
we'll talk about it later. We'll keep going.
Yeah.
Or what? Episode 7, right?
Episode 7.
Final one. Oh, no.
Nope.
2 more.
No, this is the
Yes.
mistake we made the other week when we thought it
Yeah.
was the last episode.
We're like, that's the last episode? It's like when you watch Stranger Things, it's like, I thought this was the last season.
Right.
Not the last
No.
season.
Nope.
All right. Episode 7. Politics, heroes fighting.
C-3PO saves the day.
Yep.
Yes.
C-3PO.
Because we don't want to bring Leia CGI
They
in.
mention Leia, but
She's
C-3PO,
busy. She's
yeah.
busy. Don't worry about it.
We'll send C-3PO.
And that was about it. It was totally
It's
just
always
like
great to
a
see
cameo
Anthony
scene.
Daniels
That's
come back.
That's basically the purpose of that scene. Was just a cameo.
It was. We got C-3PO, and we're like, oh, cool. That's fine. I like seeing Lieutenant Carson.
Yeah.
He's the pilot.
Yeah, he's fun. He's a fun character that's kind of like,
He's the glue of like this new era.
yeah.
He's everywhere.
Yeah. He's in every show.
Yeah.
You see Ahsoka practicing her lightsaber. We're watching Anakin. Ahsoka arrives, and then there's that minefield, and so you get this action scene of planes trying to find him.
Yeah, it was a big fight, trying to find them because,
You see Ahsoka reach out in the Force
Yeah.
to Sabine. See that connection between
but
apprentice
the
and
Night
master.
Sisters picked that up.
Yeah,
They
the
used
Night
that.
Sister. They used their witchery. Mm-hmm. Their space witchery.
So do they use their space witchery through the Force?
I don't know if it's similar or
I
not.
don't.
It's never been explained what their power is.
What their connection to the Force is.
If it is, or if it's something different.
It's obviously they used the Force because they found them. Because
I think it's something else.
It
I
could be
think
more
it's-
natural. It may not be a metachlorian thing where it's everywhere, or maybe it is. I don't know. They haven't really gone into
The Night Sisters.
the Night
lore.
Sisters. They have
They're
witch-like
there.
powers. They can bring things back to life. They're like hocus pocus witches. They can do that kind of stuff. They just amaze you. They can give you more power
They could
and take away
create Force sensitive people. I mean, then we saw
Yep.
that with Maul and
his brother,
his brother. I forget his name.
Yellow Maul.
Yeah, the yellow Maul. Yeah, not red, yellow. Yeah.
Which you see the coolest lightsaber fight between
Oh, yeah.
Palpatine, Maul, and his brother.
Oh yeah, that was a great.
That's when you're like, oh, dang, Palpatine can throw down. He doesn't do no.
no.
Balin and Ahsoka fight again.
That was
was
cool.
fun.
Yeah, because Sabine eventually
reunion.
comes back and she does the jump from a moving spaceship onto the
Yeah.
ground. I love how Jedi can do weird things like that. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a cool fight. Balin's all like, hey, cool, we get to do this again. I'm glad you're alive. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
Let's have some fun here, and then
then I think they find themselves at a point where I think it's like at this
What's the
point, I
point?
think
Like-
it's like a stalemate where it's all like,
why are we fighting? Like,
I
I
don't-
gotta go somewhere.
You got to do something, and I don't know what you're doing, but I really need to take care
Right.
of my people.
right,
Yeah.
And I think that's where Ahsoka's like, I don't
Let me-
have to, she doesn't have to prove anything, right?
No,
Nothing.
she doesn't care about winning.
right. And I think, and I was about to talk about this earlier, but this is where you also get that split between Balin and
Shin Hati.
Shin Hati was that like he goes, you go back with Thrawn,
And you seek the power
you seek the power that you're looking
that
for.
Thrawn will bring you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going someplace else. And so she's all like, what the heck is going on?
Okay, you're going to leave me?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has kind of like her own identity crisis
Yeah.
going on where she's at now.
Yeah, that's where you get the big old battle of like the no T wagon wheel or
Yes.
like the circle the wagon.
Circle
Yeah.
the
They
wagon.
were so cute, and you
It
get the other
was.
guys, and they got their little slingshots, and they're like they're adorable.
Oh, it's total merchandise, like cute creatures. No, Star Wars loves making cute
they
creatures.
like the cute creatures make Star Wars lovable,
Yeah.
Yep.
and since they don't have a lot of comedy, and I like things that are not the you see kids and they go like I want to bundle up right next to my night trooper right here.
Yeah.
This night or this grandmother of the night witches. Ooh, keep me safe at night. Ooh, glowing eyes too. Oh man,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel safe in bed now. Mommy, I'm scared. The night witch is pointing at me. Stick it under the bed. It'll scare Oogie Boogie.
That's what Furbies are, right?
Right.
Yeah, they have that battle, and it's really cool. I like seeing Ezra where he doesn't have a lightsaber, and he's like,
just
I'll just
using
use
the
the force to
Force."
block
That
it.
was
Yes.
cool. That was cool.
That was good.
It's your
I like-
lightsaber, not mine. It's yours. I gave it to you, but it's yours. No, I gave it to you. It's yours. I've got the Force.
He's
was
like,
cool.
look at me, I'm a younger Jedi.
Yeah, and then you got Shin-Hati that, lose the battle, and Ahsoka's like, hey, I can help you.
Yeah.
Like, she's some kind of, like, addict. She's just like,
Right.
here, I'll get you off the dark stuff.
I know.
Come back to me, and I'll
Right.
help you. And
I did like the like Thrawn playing chess.
it
Yeah.
was.
Like, he's up watching the battle on his little holo pad like it's a little game to him.
It
Like,
is a
that's-
game.
And
That's
then-
his character.
yeah.
In the
Yeah.
books, they write him like that. He's always 5 steps ahead, and he kind of implies that with, like, let her hide, we'll put this here, and then we'll get her.
Right.
We don't need to keep killing ourselves to
I
do
like
so.
the point when they like give the signal of like retreat. And the crew, like the original rebel crew is all like, wait, what?
What's going on?
What's
Shin-Hati's like, well,
I gotta go.
I gotta pay the bill. Well, that was expensive dinner. Yeah, that was the moment of like, oh, I thought I was winning.
Right.
They're not loyal to you. Last episode, guys.
Yeah.
Thrawn-
Ezra builds a lightsaber.
I like the little fight between Hu Yang and
Oh
him.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
He's like, what are you
banter.
doing? And blah,
It's
blah,
like
blah.
you're doing it wrong. It's like
He's like, I know what I'm doing here.
he's like, no, I've been doing this for thousands of years. Like, what are you talking
He
about?
was like, who taught you to
Who
build a
taught you?
lightsaber?
And it's like, oh, that explains.
it
a
was
lot.
cool because they were like doing that feeler out. Like guys do that where they don't know another guy and they're like, oh, hey. And they like talk it up and be like, oh, we just became best friends.
Right.
Like, you trained my master. That's great. All this cool
Right.
stuff.
We're wearing the same T-shirt. Awesome. Best
Exactly.
friends.
Or like, oh, cool. You just built that lightsaber right there. I guess you do know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So you get that
Some
moment.
people were upset that he didn't use the Force to build it, but
Well,
I'm okay with them doing it manually.
he's been stranded on a planet.
He's more of a tactile kind
He
of person
is.
with his
He-
hands.
he likes.
He was a
building
tinkerer.
things, Yeah.
Yeah, so what? Sabine basically breaks the ship.
Well, they got ambushed by TIE
Yes.
fighters.
TIE fighters came, and
they-
Sabine
they-
was like, I got this.
I got one last move.
Right.
Hodo maneuver.
Yep. Definitely hold on maneuver.
And that kind of slows down their way to get back to.
They go back on
Thrawn.
horseback.
It definitely was an indication to me somebody's getting left behind.
Yes.
When I saw that happen, I'm like, somebody's not making it.
Right.
You got that feeling?
Yes. At that point.
Well, the whole time they were in this like new planet, new galaxy, I was like, okay, they got here by space whales, but how are they gonna get back? Like, obviously, Thrawn's not gonna be like, "Come on aboard."
We'll sneak my ship into the
Yeah.
docking bay, and we'll all
No,
like...
we're gonna do a Han Solo and plaster ourselves to the side of the ship.
right.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think it's gonna be that easy. And Thrawn's like, I'm good. I'm just gonna do my thing. You do your thing, and bye.
Exactly.
Um,
No, Thrawn had like the rain of fire. That was cool. They were
Yeah.
like riding into the tower and seeing those lasers come down. That was cool. And then what do you got? The Night Witches creating their zombies.
Yeah.
yeah.
That was a little scary.
That was darker. Yeah, my daughter walked in. I was like, "What's going on?" And I'm very like honest, like, "Well, these witches right here from Hocus Pocus are creating zombie soldiers," and she's like, "Zombie soldiers!" I was like, "You're only 3. You're talking about zombies and witches like they're a toy."
That is your daughter.
That's my daughter right there. It was just like, okay.
um,
Oh yeah, and Elsbeth becomes a Night Sister, like
Yeah.
official one. She gets the dark
The dark
eyes. And,
I feel-
and gets a green sword.
I feel bad for her though.
Well,
'cause,
did you
like,
catch the name of the sword?
I forgot. What was it?
It's the sword of Mother,
Gothel.
not Gothel.
Mother knows best?
It's the Night Sister mother
Mother.
from Dathomir. What's her name?
Oh,
It's escaping me. But like the original like mother, Queen Mother, her name is the name of the sword.
that sword. Yeah, it's basically like a Beskar sword where she can fight Jedis with.
Yeah.
Because Thrawn's like, you know what? We're gonna need some extra time. And it just shows you he's a chess player. He's like, you are going to stay here for the greater cause. It was like
that's
Bane in the beginning of the movie. He's like, no, they're expecting another person in here. Does the cause rise? It does. That's what I kept thinking of, like Bane in that opening scene of Batman.
I just feel bad for Morgan. She's like, I brought Thrawn back, and Thrawn's like, thank you and goodbye.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
The powerful do that. It doesn't
Well,
matter how
and-
loyal you are.
And you see that the Night Witches are cautious now of Thrawn. Like when they see like, oh, they just totally like threw her under the bus. Just
No,
now.
I think they were in on it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
with Jackie on this, but I could see where
'Cause
they
they
could.
had
They
no
were-
hesitation
they were
getting on
looking-
that ship.
They were looking at each other. The Night Witches were looking at each other like, did you see that?
Maybe. I don't know. I
That's
didn't,
how-
I
that
didn't
was
get that
my
vibe.
I
impression.
just
I'm more with Jackie on
I
this
think
one.
the Night Sisters were, and then they're like, oh, let's give her this power. Let's make her
Towson.
feel.
Mother Towson. I knew I'd get it
Good
eventually.
job.
It was like, I think they were in on it because they're like, let's give her these powers and stuff, make her feel comfortable, and then
Give her a promotion before she dies. You're a general. Now hold down the fort.
And he's like, we need you now because you're more powerful and more important.
She's a good tool. She could actually, and she did really well against
She did.
Ahsoka. Like they'd already battled once, and she held her own for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Out of everybody there, she was meant for that role.
Yep.
We saw some Night Death Troopers in there. They're pretty mean. They were like growling when they were fighting Ezra
Yeah.
and Sabine. They're like,
Well, I think you got to see some of their faces. They're definitely decomposed.
yeah.
Yeah.
They've certainly fallen. That's for sure.
Then we get the, Ezra and Sabine
Mm-hmm.
are, at the top as the ship is going away, and they're like, Sabine's like,
I'll push you, buddy.
You can jump.
You go first.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you don't even know how to use a lot. You're gonna push me? Okay. I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me.
Yeah.
I'm one with the Force.
Right.
And yeah, Mark described that. He was like, this scene is almost as equal as Leia floating in space.
I wouldn't say that. No.
It was not flying Mary Poppins. I would not put that in that. But I can see where someone does that. But yeah, there was a little push of like, yeah, no pun intended, push. But
Right.
yeah, Elsbeth loses. Morgan, to Ahsoka.
Yeah.
it was sad, but it was, like her character really didn't have probably much going forward.
No.
Her purpose was to bring about Thrawn. That was kind of her
And
story
that-
arc.
She nailed
did
it.
All the way back in the second season of Mandalorian.
Yep.
Was that like her purpose was to bring Thrawn in. So there's no point for her now, because I think having her around is just having her around for the sake of having her around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know how much she was going to help Thrawn
correct.
with the Empire aggregating themselves. It's
Right.
like she didn't have like a army waiting for him.
Right.
Like, bring me along and you could get my army.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ezra's on the ship, right?
Ezra made it on the ship.
Ezra
And then
made
Hu
it
Yang
on.
fixes the ship again,
Yep.
right? And then you get Ahsoka and Sabine. They get back on the ship chasing Thrawn.
They're trying.
They're going to be like, we can just hitch a ride.
I don't know what I'm doing.
We're just going to go forward.
Gotta do something,
Yeah.
right? Like, maybe we could do something, or we could
Maybe
blow
we could
them up.
just-
I don't know.
Blow up an engine.
Yeah.
Stop them from going.
Yeah.
Um,
But they didn't make it.
they didn't make it. I like Thrawn like hailing.
Oh, that was
Ahsoka.
great. He's like, "You lost today." Like,
Yeah,
oh, that was.
and he's all like, "You were the apprentice of Anakin." Like, just shows like he does his research.
Yeah.
Oh,
he
I
knows.
love that. Like, he used that, like, when he found out that Ahsoka was trained by Anakin. Like,
He was like, "There's no negotiating."
He's like, oh, like, there was, like, something that clicked in him and, like, oh, I need to be careful with this one. Like,
He had a lot of respect for, because he is one of the only people really
That
in
knew.
the Empire that knew Darth
Anakin.
Vader was Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi. So he was familiar with the Force and familiar with Darth Vader, and he knew, it was like, I don't know. I think he knew this is a tenacious person, and if they got anything from this mentor or from this master, you have to be careful, because they're tenacious in what they're doing and determined. So yeah, it was kind of a respect of like, I'm not gonna mess around with you.
yeah.
And then he does the classic, like, as he like punches it in the light speed, it's like, long live the Empire, and just like,
Yeah.
and you're just like, ooh, we're getting into the next phase of the Empire, or like Thrawn's last Empire hurrah.
Right.
That's kind of like alluded in the last Mandalorian, where the council of the remnants of the Empire.
I think it's funny how they're like, after that scene, they're like, okay, we're just going to go back and hang out with the little turtles.
Oh, and then, like, what else can you do?
I know. Do you think they'll ever come back?
I think the big thing at the end was the indicator that yes.
Really?
When you find out, so you may not have realized this, but you remember the last scene where you see Balin Scorn.
He's on the father.
He's on the father.
The father,
So
yeah.
hence, this planet has a connection to Mortis, therefore probably has a connection to
The world between worlds.
the world between worlds.
Oh.
And
And that's already been shown as a way you can get from one place to another.
Gotcha.
it's like an interconnected like place between time and space, where you could be in a small room, but you can go from one part of the galaxy to another part, or another part of the galaxy at one point in time to another, because Ezra's the one that saves Ahsoka from the building collapsing on her when she battles Darth Vader in Rebels,
Yeah.
which I highly recommend watching just the YouTube clip, because that was just so cool. Ahsoka
Right.
versus Darth Vader.
Um,
So yeah, I think it is possible, but I think this is a good time to develop the master and apprentice time period. So if they do get stuck there, it may be good just to be there for some time for that. But I think for the story of Balin being there and seeking higher power, they're
do you
called
think
there.
Balin is going to try to be the father, or he's going to be try to
I think
be
he's the brother.
the brother?
I don't know.
Ahsoka's the
Because-
sister.
Ahsoka's the sister.
yeah,
that's already
that
and-
was made clear with
and
the
they-
owl appearing at the end.
And they
Yes.
say that the father is Anakin,
yes.
which he is technically there. I don't know how that works, but
I don't think he's the father. He was supposed to take the position as the
No, I
chosen
think
one,
he
but he
did.
turned it down.
I think he did.
You think he's the
there was
father
a
now?
clone. Yeah, I saw clips. It was saying like
He
you are the
when
father.
he moved on.
When he brought balance to
when
the
he
Force.
brought balance to the Force and he died, like his connection with the Force was so strong that like he can still fulfill that role in the next life.
Okay.
And that's why he was able to do what he was doing with Ahsoka. He was talking with her and brought her there, and like, because I think he brought Ahsoka to the world between worlds, not that Ahsoka went there.
I could see that.
I thought it was kind of like a near-death kind of thing where in the consciousness, you know.
Because we know from Rebels that the world between worlds has access points, and I don't think this place had an access point. I think this was just something that Ahsoka was taken to by Anakin.
Oh, where at the one planet?
Yes.
Where the reflex point, where they did all the mapping and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. It is something where she was probably near death, and then Anakin had the ability to pull her at this point. I don't think Anakin can just pull at any point where like she's like fighting a lightsaber fight. It's like, let's time to do a lesson here.
I know, right?
And then you'll go back to your body once you're done. Yeah, it's an interesting thought of that.
Which brings in like, so you've got the father, the
I don't know
daughter, but
I don't think he embodies the brother, though. I don't think he represents that at all.
So what is he seeking with the power
he's
of more?
seeking power, and that's what like the brother wanted, was more power.
Yeah.
I mean, we could. You could.
But
Or do you think the brother could embody that person, Balin's body, to try and escape?
You could, man. I don't know, man. It's so like they can go so many different
It's
directions.
I think they're trying to bring closure to the whole like metaphysics of or existential of the Force.
Right.
With this, I think this is Filoni is kind of creating the world that George Lucas wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there was rumors that George Lucas like version of the new trilogy was going to have like a darker Sith creature,
Right.
like the Yodas, but like the Sith side where they're like, your guys' is like perversion of the Sith is stupid, like,
Right.
and kind of bring more of like a metaphysical kind of bigger picture, you know, like how the first ones really brought up like more of the religion part, and then this would be like beyond religion, more of the spiritualness, like of or the way of the galaxy, you know. And I think Dave Filoni is kind of doing that with this. It was kind of planted in the Clone Wars, and he's kind of gonna bring this back. And Ahsoka is a part of that, with her being saved by the sister.
But that leaves what about Sabine? You know, her mission was to bring Ezra back, which
And
she
she
did.
did.
So
She's-
do you think they'll kill her?
I don't know if they'll kill her, but
No.
her role is to help Ahsoka grow as a master and her to grow as an apprentice, and to build a bond to work together
She's gonna
for
play
the bigger role.
I don't think she's gonna go full Jedi.
No.
I think in the end, this is my prediction for her story arc, is that she will make her way back to Mandalore to
Yeah.
help rebuild that.
I think so.
I think that is how her story is going to end, unless they want to go a romantic route with Ezra.
I get two brother sister
No.
vibe. And I know Star Wars loves kissing
I know
brother
they do.
sisters.
They do.
but
They do.
My wife was like, "Are they like lovers?" And I was like, "No, they're brother sisters."
It's either going to be like relationship or she's going to go off.
Yeah.
That's my prediction for
I
Sabine.
see her going to the Mandalorian storyline more and rebuilding it.
Like she's going to play an integral part with the Mandalorians, like fighting with whatever, because she's a weapons designer. That's what she did when she was in the Empire. She designed the weapons for the Empire.
She was a tinker. Yep.
Yeah, and so that's what she's going to do. She's going to go back to Mandalore, prepare for the final conflict with Thrawn. She's going to make sure the Mandalorians are ready for that.
That's cool. Yeah, I could see that. Final battle on Mandalore.
Now, Hero's son, Jason, right?
He gets killed by
Do you think he gets
Kylo
killed?
Ren. I think
by,
Kylo
like,
Ren kills him.
I was going to ask.
No, it's kind of one of those, like, does Hera,
Allow
like, is
him
Jason
to
the
use
one in the
Force?
ghost ship? and the end of like the Rise of Skywalker,
Right.
because you see the ghost ship, which is the name of Hera's ship. So it's what I was like, is that Hera in the ship or is that Jason? It's up in the air.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. When I saw him, I'm going, well, if he goes to the Jedi Temple,
He's gonna
Kylo
die.
Ren's gonna kill him because Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker had a bad dream. Oh, you're killing me with that. Just seeing angry, like,
self-fulfilling
Yeah.
prophecy.
right? Yeah.
Overall, I thought the Ahsoka series was great.
Yes, I give it like a
I give it a 4.
I give it a 4, solid 4. I think it's the best Star Wars, like giving me the good.
It's your typical like Jedi. You got lightsabers. You got spaceship fights.
There really
and-
shouldn't be any people really mad with this Star Wars story. You got your
I'm
lightsabers, you got
curious-
cuteness. There's people that are mad, but those people are always just
They're
mad.
always going to be bad. You
Yeah.
can never satisfy them. The only thing that I have against this, the only point I have really against this series is that for a person like my wife who has not consumed
Right.
Yep.
all the stuff, she hasn't watched the show yet, but when she'll watch the show, she's going to be lost completely
Yep.
because she didn't want to sit and watch 3 seasons of Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like and she's okay with that, but like she there's going to be a certain this show will alienate a lot of people.
Yep. My wife was asking a lot of questions. She was like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's them." And they know each other from here and here. And she's like, "All right, cool." She's
Yeah.
like, "I like this. This is good." She's like, "I like the lightsaber scenes. You know, I like these guys here. And oh, this guy seems like a bad guy. He's got the scary music." And
Yeah.
you know, like she was fine with, like, she was passively watching it while I was watching it again, and she was just like, "Oh, that's cool. I like this." And just like the music's like the ending credit music was so
Yes.
cool with the
Oh,
cello.
beautiful.
Right. Everyone's waiting. Was like, when are you going to release the album so I can buy it? Like, they wouldn't let you have just the end credits.
But I mean, I'm curious to see what they end up deciding to do with Balin, because unfortunately the actor did pass away
There's a lot of talk
he
about who's
did.
going to replace. Yeah, he died like
He
right
died.
before.
right before it came out.
That's sad. He was so good.
He was a really good actor.
There's plenty of white guys with white beards in Hollywood that they could fulfill.
They could, or they could just leave it as is. And
I think
When they had him up on that father, it was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is big picture.
he's
getting
coming back.
You're getting
but
2 storylines. You got Thrawn's storyline, and then you have Ahsoka's storyline going on.
and I think we'll get another Ahsoka series season 2 before we get to the Thrawn movie.
yeah,
yeah, because they've got to bring Ahsoka back.
they may do the duel. They may have 2 storylines going, because Thrawn's got to get a bigger fleet,
Yeah,
and that's
he's
kind of like the
weak.
missing fleet
And
from the book.
And I think that's what we'll get with either Skeleton Crew or Mando 4.
Mandalorian.
I think so, because that was the second book of Thrawn series, was him getting his ships that made him so powerful, to where he got that transponder like you see in Rise of Skywalker, where they could control all the ships with a hive mind. And that's what Thrawn needs, is him in control of the chess pieces to cause damage and fear, because the New Republic has too much control, and like there's not enough of a force to really do any damage with what they got. I think he needs a bigger fleet, and that's where you see those ghost like army people. I don't think they're just stormtroopers. I think they're people to help them.
Yeah.
All right, we need to wrap it up. We have so many things to talk about with this, but I think we all agree, go watch it, even if you haven't seen Rebels, but we do recommend you watch Rebels, at least.
You can watch it, but just watch it. And then if you have a question, type online. Who's this person?
Yes.
How are they connected to this? And YouTube will have a 5-minute video to explain it to you.
They will.
And you can appreciate, because this is part of a bigger picture for Star Wars moving forward.
Yes. This
It-
is going to be leading into a movie.
I think so.
Oh, without a doubt. The whole Mandalorian. I think Boba Fett's coming back. I think everything that we've seen
Like
so
a
far.
bantha.
Like bantha.
They're basically creating like an end game kind of thing.
But with
Star
with
Wars.
streaming and not movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So
I'm satisfied.
yeah, make sure you follow us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook. You can email us any questions, comments at matterhornyodlers@gmail.com. But with that being said, have a magical day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember,
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.